I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And today we're going to be talking about, are there reasons for leaving me real? In other words, we're going to be looking at a situation today where we're trying to figure out, are the reasons that this person left the relationship honest? Are they sincere? Or are they just saying it because they're trying to get out of a relationship? We're trying to figure out what's going on there. Because what I have seen time and time again, sometimes your ex will just flat out lie to your face. That is the truth.
Rather than take responsibility?
And I know this because I have talked to many people that did the dumping and have admitted to me I flat out lied to them. I told them there was nobody else and I was sleeping with other people. And yet they would tell their ex repeatedly, no, there's nobody else in the background. So I know for a fact that there are people that will straight up lie to you. People that you would never expect would lie to you will lie to you about a situation. They'll keep things from you. Sometimes they do it because they're not sure if they want to end the relationship for good. And so they want to keep you in the dark. And by lying to you and not giving you all the information that you need, they can manipulate the situation better.
And it can leave you thinking it was all your fault when in fact it was not.
Oh yes, yeah. Absolutely. Yes, because sometimes they'll cheat on you and you're thinking this is all my fault and you don't have that information, right? Okay, so we've got an email here from a woman who's in her late 40s, dating a guy in his mid-50s, and they started dating about a year ago. The interesting thing about this situation is they went on a date, one date, let's say a little bit less than a year ago. Then she said, as far as I was concerned, the date was fantastic. It ended with a kiss, but she didn't hear from him for 4 months. 4 months.
4 months.
Very interesting on my part, thinking about that, right? Because you think if you'd have a great date with somebody, 4 months wouldn't go by before you heard from them again.
No.
So what happened, what was going on there, it's already a big red flag for me. First thing I'm thinking, he was dating other women and he was more interested in them, wasn't that into her, fell apart with somebody else, then reached out to her again.
Well, he was having auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they only went on one date, so, I mean, how much information does he have to give her? But for me, if somebody does that to me, I'm going to be like, what happened to you 4 months ago?
What happened?
I thought we had a good time.
Are you interested or not?
Yeah. Okay. So she said, when I did hear from him, it was magical most of the time.
Dear. Oh, when we hear magical now, we get nervous.
Yep.
Yeah.
She says the problem was when we argued. We spent a lot of our time together. He did not have much of a social life outside of me. He takes care of an elderly family member and didn't have a real job. It's another red flag too, right?
Oh yes, there's another one.
He manages family income. He was always telling me we were perfect for each other and pushed to be a part of my life. It caused a bit of stress in me and I lashed out very ugly at him about it 3 times. Well, it sounds like he was really pushing hard in the beginning and he wasn't taking no for an answer, so she probably lost their self-control.
I wonder what he wanted.
It sounds like
he wanted to do that she didn't.
Well, she said, be a part of my life. It sounded like he was rushing things to me.
Or wanted a whole lot of information from her, yeah.
Yeah, okay. He would run away for days at a time afterwards. This is the negative he refers to in our breakup. A month before Christmas, I made a commitment to open my heart to him, and we had a wonderful lead up to Christmas holidays. He was disappointed I would not go to his family's for the holiday, but I needed to be home with my son. After New Year's, he asked if I would travel with him to meet his family, and I said yes. It went perfectly. He told me that he was in danger of telling me 3 important words.
God knows that's dangerous.
It was probably, can't find me.
Yeah.
But didn't say them. He told me he loved me before, but I brushed it off because he said it was far too early. I knew he could not mean it, but I had been waiting for him to say it again so I could tell him that I loved him too. The next week, now mind you, they had only been together about 4 months about this point.
Right,
I don't know if I said that.
4 months.
The next week, right before we were about to make love, I had to run to do something. I passed by the dishes and I made a comment about not getting them clean again. And that was it. Needless to say, we didn't make love that night, as we did most every night. And he lashed out at me. He was gone the next day.
So he thought she was complaining that he hadn't washed the dishes well enough. Is that it?
Or didn't do it again. Like, oh, you left these in here again. Okay.
Probably not something to say at that very moment.
Yeah.
No.
Now, she says that he talked about marriage all the time in the 4 months that they were together. His parents were extremely religious. They sent him to church school after high school. He did not finish. He met a girl and they married. He did not think his dad liked him very much growing up. His dad was very strict, almost abusive. My dad was very much the same way. Duncan idolized his mother. He considered her a saint. He was always comparing her to me.
Oh, never a good sign.
What does that mean, Margaret?
No. That she was his first love. Of course, she would be. But a comparison that's given voice, no.
Oh, you mean mom was his first love?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So these were the reasons for the breakup, okay? You're in for a treat. He said I kept the house so clean he could not relax. He said, that was the first one, which to me is like, really? The house was so clean you couldn't relax? I could see me maybe being uncomfortable if somebody's really obsessive.
If you drop a crumb, if they're going to have a nervous breakdown. But
Yeah.
overall, that is not a common complaint or human problem that we hear often.
But as
Your
these
house
go
is
on,
too clean.
yeah.
Okay.
He said he could tell he did not satisfy me sexually.
How could he tell?
Exactly what I asked her
How
in the
about
email
a
coaching.
conversation about that?
And he felt he would never be able to. Well, unless there was something going on where he really picked up a vibe, but it didn't sound like she alluded to that in the email. So
That would require a conversation.
yes, it feels like to me he's projecting an insecurity.
I would agree.
Okay.
A very simple phrase. How was it for you, honey? People
Yeah.
make jokes about that phrase.
Exactly. He didn't like that I asked him to put the toilet seat down. I mean, you're going to break up with somebody because they
Okay.
ask you to put the toilet seat down? That's about as ridiculous a reason I've ever heard.
Well, maybe men get tired of hearing it. I can understand that. But, hey,
And he said I was trying to fix him.
fix him.
That's what she says.
How did he think she was doing that? What did she want from him?
That was in regards to the toilet seat. Sounds like BS to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And the strong negative in the beginning, I guess she has a temper, had just become too hard for him to ignore, and that haunted more than all the positive he felt.
So she had a temper and would tell him off.
I guess so. Maybe she had anxiety and was controlling, and he was getting tired
He
of that.
doesn't really say that.
No, but it felt like the most authentic of all the reasons so far. He decided he was just not happy in the relationship. It was too hard, too much pressure. He didn't want to learn new tricks.
Like putting the toilet seat down.
Yeah, it's so difficult to do, isn't it? Which didn't make sense to me because I never asked him to, and I never pressured him for anything ever. Okay. When he first told me he needed space after the dishes incident, I asked how I could help, and he said that was kind. He was just going to stay at his place. Then, I didn't hear from him for a week. I reached out to ask him to explain. That is when he told me it was over.
Oh.
I was stunned. Could you imagine? I would be.
Yeah.
I'd be stunned. I couldn't believe everything he was telling me because he was always so positive, telling me how perfect we were together.
I thought he was taking care of an elderly family member.
He was.
But he could go to his own place?
I don't know if he lived with that family member or who he lived with.
Yeah.
She did say that that he spent most nights with her.
Okay.
I couldn't believe everything he was telling me because he was always so positive, telling me how perfect we were for each other. We had just been to his family's, and in the hotel, he had said, "I'm in danger of telling you 3 words that mean so much." But here he was telling me the opposite. He even said it was all a lie and that I should have been smart enough to have known that. Interesting, right? That's wow.
That's very tricky.
So either he was lying or, you know what I mean, like about how he felt about her, or he was just trying to get out of the situation. But how would you know what's true?
I would assume nothing was true at that point. I lied to you, and it was kind of a test to see if you were smart enough to know I was lying. Who wants to deal with somebody who does that?
Right? Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was thinking.
And I'll tell you what, I'm still back on his employment situation. He wasn't living with the elderly family member, it did not appear, and he didn't have a job.
No.
So
and he was taking care of the family finances. That's what it said. Okay, according to her, he just wanted it all to be true. I told him this was all so unnecessary. I was satisfied and I was crazy about him, but he would have none of it, so I let him go. I saw him when he contacted me to get his things. Again, at a concert, as he used the ticket I gave him for Christmas. He acted like we were old friends and hugged my neck. It was hard for him to leave me and walked me to my car, but I haven't heard from him since. Coach Craig, my question at the end should be, how should I handle things at this point to win him back? Well, I don't think this is a situation where you should be focused on trying to win somebody back, because you didn't do anything wrong here. Most of his reasons just felt like BS to me.
Me too. And his circumstances don't sound right to me. And I've learned over the years that when a story doesn't hang together at the most basic level, don't believe it. What does he live on?
I don't know.
Family finances?
Yeah.
I mean, is he on disability for something? I mean, either he's on disability or he's using the family finances because we see no visible means of support.
Yeah. But there are so many red flags here, even from the first date, that he vanished after 4 months, comes back in your life, you're together for 4 months, he's talking to you about marriage all the time, he's bringing it up.
We're
he's
perfect
saying
together.
He's in danger of saying 3 big words, and then he leaves because you complained about the dishes?
She met his family. I would love to know more about that. But she didn't tell you anymore.
No, other than I believe she said they had a good time, right? Or that it all went perfect, according to her. Yeah, she said it went perfectly. Those were her words.
And the family was extremely religious?
Yes, she did mention that.
But she doesn't say a whole lot about that.
Other than they sent him to church school after high school. He didn't finish. He met a girl and they married.
Well,
he didn't think his dad liked him very much growing up. His dad was very strict and almost abusive.
And similar to her father, she said.
Yeah.
So that would be a huge thing they'd have in common, because who would understand better than somebody who had been through the same thing?
Yeah.
My first question to her would be, what would be in it for you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What would you say?
Well, I mean, I don't like a lot of his behavior here,
No.
and I think there's a lot of dishonesty in regards to why he left the situation. Maybe he just wasn't that interested in you, and he didn't know how to say that. I mean, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just don't feel a strong connection with somebody, but he feels a bit narcissistic for me.
I think that would be the kindest possible interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's terribly friendly with the truth, nor does he even apologize for that. And as a matter of fact, you should know when I'm lying.
Mm-hmm.
Not my job.
Yes, and that felt very cruel to me.
Oh yeah, and
Like-
manipulative, and now you can't believe anything
Yeah,
I say.
and that makes you question your own reality. Like,
Yeah.
was I imagining this the whole
yeah,
time?
right.
He told me he loved me and wanted to marry me all the time, and now he's saying I should have known it was a
And
lie.
I don't think she knows that much about him.
No.
That's what bothers me the most. She doesn't seem to know who he's taking care of. She met his
Well, she
family.
did know who that was. I just
Did
left
she?
out the member.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't get a clear picture of what his circumstances are at all.
But the reasons
Except
for
I do
leaving.
know that he doesn't have a job. That leaps off the page to me.
I mean, the reasons that he's left here.
Just
He
nuts.
couldn't relax because the house was
please.
too clean. He didn't want to learn new tricks by putting the toilet seat down.
Tricks, and trick implies manipulation.
He
to
didn't
me.
feel like she was satisfied sexually, but he never,
asked her that we know.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it just too much pressure. I mean, it just seems like he's not capable of having a healthy relationship.
Doesn't sound like it to me either.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the reasons were authentic.
No.
And, we're taking a closer look at him, and, he just doesn't seem like he's ready for anything real.
Well, and I would say to her, if you don't have a coherent story about him, we got bits and pieces here.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't hang together for you as a coherent story, be concerned.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're looking at the reasons people leave a situation, a lot of times they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to give you half truths, or they're going to blame you, because if they have the blame on you, it's like, well, we can't fix this because of that thing that you did. Mm-hmm. And so it keeps you at a distance from repairing things, right? And so I think a lot of people aren't authentic for that reason, because you can't repair it.
She would need to know volumes more about him before she even thought of it.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah. Red flags popping up for me all over the place.
Everywhere.
And
you should have known I was lying. That's the crazy one for me.
Yeah, that's the one that really kind of makes you look at all of the other things and excuses and say, okay, this wasn't a good situation.
And didn't you say narcissistic a minute ago?
Yes.
Now, some narcissistic people will do this on purpose to try and shake your sense of reality. So that by the time I get finished with you, you don't know which end is up. I'm going to tell you that you don't remember things correctly, you didn't perceive things correctly, and this was more in the range of you didn't perceive all of this correctly. Or if you did, then I successfully manipulated you and there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
So I pick up the sort of the toxic narcissistic flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy the whole story.
No. And from the there's red flags from the first date.
Yeah.
From the very first date. So, something to think about.
Or does he have a disability and he stopped taking his meds after the first date? Who knows?
Yeah.
He's got to be on disability, something supporting him.
We didn't have all that information.
No.
But what we did have was enough to paint a picture that this wasn't going good.
No.
His actions, what he was telling her, made her feel amazing. It was going to go great. It felt so wonderful. But then when she looked closely at his behavior, or we looked closely at his behavior, it wasn't good. So, of course, if you want to get our help with your situation personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Margaret is available for Skype coaching.
Yes, feel free to sign up with me. I'd love to talk with you.
Just click on Margaret on the top of the website. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and all of the podcast platforms out there. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And we will talk with you soon.